Okay, we're going to go ahead and continue learning about the background information for night. If you can't hear this video, you can always go into Canvas and go into our slides and watch the videos there. I do have the subtitles on as well.
Where do genocidal ideas come from?
How do you stop genocide?
How does genocide start?
How can I help?
What is genocide?
My name is Wolf Gruner. I'm the director of the UC Shoah Foundation Center for Advanced Genocide Research. A definition brought forward by the United Nations in 1948, which calls genocide
Acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. We kept hearing like people shooting guns, people screaming, and running around.
They took out all the inhabitants were there Jewish people, and they put them on trucks, and they took them away to Pornari, this outskirts of forest, where they were shooting the people there. He came with a note that your name is in the list. You are going to be deported in 2 days.
One day, the town crier saying, those who don't go there will be killed. We have to go there on pain of death.
Genocide starts much earlier than with the killing, and what we have to look at is the persecution of a minority.
My name is Emily Musel Church. I'm an historian of Africa and human rights. One of the things to think about in terms of genocide, there is the idea behind a group of people, seeing them as less than human, assigning characteristics to a group of people, classifying them as other, that there is us and them.
Other kids will look at me like I'm different because Tutsis, they're used to call us in Zoka, which is cockroach and a snake. And that's not something you call people. Once you start labeling people, pretty much it's degrading them.
That sort of mentality really starts the thinking that then allows people to say they should not be allowed to exist. So really that idea of othering and seeing someone as less human than yourself is where genocidal ideas start.
This idea that some people are less human than others is then leveraged by groups and individuals to benefit their political, economic, social, or cultural interests. And if the idea continues to spread and those interests continue to deepen, the situation can devolve into the intent to commit violence or eradicate the targeted group altogether. Genocide is a widespread and recurring issue. There are still genocides taking place in the world today. The challenge that we all face is what can be done to stop it.
When people talk about or study genocide, it can feel really overwhelming to see the huge number of people and the devastation that happens. Genocide begins and ends with people's choices. An individual can make a choice for what actions they take. So something that even seems simple, like the way that we treat someone else, having empathy, making sure we're seeing the humanity and dignity of all human beings, that sounds like it's something that's small and personal, but that is something that has huge consequences.
Even in the midst of the atrocities, there is some goodness. And it is always easier to teach the new generation if you show them not only the evil, but if you show them you have the right to be good. You should be good.
These decisions to treat someone with kindness, to show compassion, to have courage, to care for other people, these are the sort of things that matter.
By educating ourselves about the past and calling out hatred and intolerance in the present, we can all have a hand in the prevention of genocide now and in the future.
So this is why it's really important to pay attention to the news, because you will find examples of genocide happening now. You will find examples of the stage that countries are on, because just because you're not in actual genocide doesn't mean you're on your way. And if you look in the news, especially during an election season, you will see examples of people othering others and hating others. And one of the most important things we can do is not hate people who are different than us or who think differently than us. So the 10 stages of genocide are really important to acknowledge. One is classification, us versus them, ethnicity, race, religion, nationality. One way to prevent this stage is what they said, to promote tolerance and understanding. So everyone should be accepting of everyone else in this class. And when we have discussions, I will point it out if I'm seeing an us versus them mentality that you're portraying. Symbolization, distinguishing groups by names, colors, or clothing. So Jews had the yellow star during the Holocaust. Therefore, it's really important that we forbid hate symbols like the swastika. And there's other hate symbols out there today. Discrimination, when laws, customs, and political power deny other people their rights. And you can see that, again, throughout the world today, which rights are being taken away. So a goal is to, you can contact your political leaders and speak out against what's happening, and tell them that you do not approve, even if you do disagree with a group, that they shouldn't be treated that way. Dehumanization, when you deny the humanity of another group. So that's when you treat them as less than human. And there are examples of that today. And so you should encourage your leaders not to use hate speech and to make it culturally unacceptable to ban hate propaganda and hate speech. Organization, the military is trained and used to organize the plans for the genocidal killings. So that's why it's really important to have people in the military who will not do that, who are trained professionals and who will not give in to genocide. And also to have political leaders who will not use the military in that way. Polarization is when extremists divide groups. So hate groups use polarizing propaganda. They don't allow you to socialize or see other people, or they don't allow them to have education or live in certain areas. So it's better to have moderate leaders help with human rights groups and to take away the assets of the extremists so that they don't have the power to speak like that. And I think that's been something that's been going on social media lately, is what should be or should not be allowed to be said, because that could be considered an asset of an extremist. And whose responsibility is it to control that? Is it a political leader or is it the owner of the company? And you can see those examples today, and it's not yet genocide, but you're getting pretty close. Preparation, and that's when national groups plan the genocide gently with words like ethnic cleansing, purification, counterterrorism. They build armies, indoctrinate the population with fear of the victim group. So here's where, if a country is doing this, you should put embargoes against them and try to prosecute the leaders and really put a lot of pressure on them not to go further. Persecution, this is when victims are identified and separated and death lists are made. Victims are deported, property taken, and the killings begin. So that's when the world needs to declare a genocide emergency, the UN needs to mobilize, and international intervention should be prepared with the military. Extermination, that's when there are mass killings because people, the victims are not seen as human. At this point, only an army working really quickly can stop it. Denial follows genocide, and this is why we have so many Holocaust deniers today. Surprisingly, most of the Holocaust deniers are not Germans. Germany does an excellent job of teaching the Holocaust because they never want to lead genocide again. But you can see examples of neo-Nazis all over Europe and in the United States, which is really scary, and in the Middle East. and in fact, I think news just said that 2/3 of American youth, or people who just graduated from college, did not know that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. This didn't happen very long ago. My grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. 80 members of my family died in the Holocaust. So, Holocaust deniers continue to hurt the descendants of people who lost family members in the Holocaust, and it hurts people who are victims of genocide today for different genocides. Um, so they do victim blaming, they don't investigate, they lie, and there should be punishment by international courts. And that's something that we are seeing today. Okay, what is the difference between genocide and Holocaust? We already covered what genocide is. It is the deliberate killing, mass killing of a specific group of people. Holocaust is a type of genocide, and it's on a mass scale, particularly by fire. So Holocaust is genocide by fire. The Holocaust was the largest genocide in the world, except for the genocide of the Native Americans. And that is a controversial statement. Some historians don't see it as genocide, and others do, because of the systematic aspect of it. Except for that, the Holocaust is the biggest genocide that the human history has ever seen.